This episode of Reasonably Spontaneous Conversation is brought to you in part by Clay Boykin Life and Business Coaching, because we all get stuck at times. For more information, visit clayboykin.com. By Janelli Bean, for fun and engaging children's books with cute and colorful characters. For more information, visit janellibean.com. And by Wise Owl Organizing, simply set up for you. Organizing consulting and clarity coaching, virtual or in person. For more information, visit wiseowlorganizing.com.
Hello world, it's me, Dennis. I get to be here with Bonnie Neel, one of my favorites, and one of my new favorites, Blake Thompson. Hello, guys.
Hello.
Pleasure to have you on Reasonably Spontaneous Conversation. My question is this for both of you. All right, now think about this, because I always ask people when people are together, who noticed who first? I want to know who got the idea first and who pitched it to the other person, wondering whether or not they were going to accept for drinking with your ex.
All right, I'm going to take this. It was my idea. I'm just saying, my idea. Yes, we were talking. We've been talking. Frankly, after some of our friends have kind of assaulted us with their really, truly gruesome and horrible COVID dating stories, and after we've tried to provide free therapy and dating advice to them, I think it was at Bender's one night, right?
Yeah.
After that, and she'd finally gone home. We're like, I feel like we need to take this on the road. I think, because there's something unique about having two exes, who are still friends and kind of wildly strong opinions about dating. So it was my idea, and then I roped him into it. And then I remember asking him again several months later while sober to recommit.
And Blake, did you have any reservations?
No.
You knew right away. And I know you're both podcast fans, and that the murder. I listened to the book on the murder, on My Favorite Murder, and all the ones that and I was just stunned by the rapport that you two had in the first 6 episodes. And this is what I said. And Bonnie, I know that you have a hard time taking this, but I feel like I'm an early adopter. I got in on this early because the kinds of questions that you guys are asking and what you're doing are on a lot of people's minds. I mean, I know, Bonnie, you changed my life. You changed my life totally when you told me about the combo lock.
Yeah.
In the first episode, I sat there and I went, oh my God, I've been waiting all my life trying to fucking figure this out, and suddenly she drops it and all the tumblers clicked into place, and I went, thank God.
I know,
and I
right?
let go. So tell me about, where did you come up with that?
It was kind of spontaneous, actually. Like you're sitting there having, just especially in relationships, and especially when you're getting into that first sexual encounter with somebody, and how complicated it can be, especially when you are in your 40s.
Exactly.
I mean, you've been around the block like 5, 6, 7, 12 times, and all of a sudden you need, like we were saying, it's like some people need their foot caught in a bear trap and punched in the face to get off.
I mean, it seems to get more and more complicated as men get older. I don't think Dan Savage called it the combo lock, but he kind of talked about how, some men can break their dick by making it too niche, right?
Yeah.
Sort of like too much masturbation. And I think from that, I just got the idea that it was a combination lock, that sometimes you don't, it gets more complicated as you get older.
And also it's not gender specific either.
No. And that's the thing that I want to ask, because one of the things that concerns me is that it appears to me that women, or in my experience, women are a lot more emotionally intelligent than the pool of men that they have. I mean, I feel so sorry for heterosexual women. I mean, I really do, is because the entire pool is very shallow. I mean, that's, I mean, I don't even get them. I'm much more, I caucus with the lesbians. I understand why. I can see what they see in gender. I don't see what women see in men. I don't get it. So it's hard for me, it's hard for me to empathize it, but although I do, bless your hearts. I mean, this is one of the things I admire so much about you, Blake, is because you've decided to go into therapy. You decided to say, okay, I'm not going to just let this go. I'm going to go ahead and go into therapy. And that's one of the themes that you have in every single episode that you do.
Yeah, it's if you would have asked me to do what we're doing right now pre-therapy, I'd be telling you to go, take off. No, not happening. Like I do not have the emotional bandwidth or the emotional maturity at that moment.
Yeah,
To have these conversations where now I can have a candid conversation clearly and be emotionally okay with it.
Wow. And you, Bonnie?
I mean, I've been in therapy a long time. I'm a big proponent of it. It was interesting because Blake is a therapist, but he, we had a lot of conversations, a lot of fights until he himself went back into therapy. And I do think that there's something about just being this age, right? Like we've obviously gotten something not right, and exactly. We're obviously kind of making the same mistakes over and over again. And this feels like a crossroads, right? That, turning 40 does feel like a crossroads, and that you can either stay on the same path and keep doing things exactly the same way, or
make some type of healthy change and look for different avenues on your own mental health, your own dating health, and personal health.
One of the things I admire so much about you guys is that you're willing to put yourselves out there. You put your own, you're so vulnerable and so transparent, which is what makes it so, it's the reality of it. I actually see you guys grow. I feel it in the podcast. I feel that you're really putting it out on the line. You're not, and I love the uncomfortable question that you get to ask one another, that you do that you lay in there, plus that you can describe one another. Yeah.
Yeah.
And describing one another, because it's also, so much about what is our own sense of who we are and of how we're growing, because I don't think, and this may be presumptuous, but it does not seem like you are the same person from episode 1 to episode 6. There are nuances. There are things that I hear you exploring. So there's kindnesses and back and forth and vulnerabilities that appear to me. And if I'm reading into it, please tell me so. But it just seems like that there's something going on, that we're actually seeing you guys grow in real time.
Well, and like for both of us, this is it's a learning experience for both of us. Because it's funny, like we do aftercare spots after each podcast, and we talk about what we discussed, how we felt about it, and like we're exploring these feelings in real time.
And it can get intense, and after some of these, we start off laughing, we start off having fun, and kind of we get in, we start off with our opinions that we're just sharing with the world, and then once the uncomfortable questions come around, like, oh yeah, it can get very, very real and very, very revealing. I think I was telling you, Dennis, and I told Blake, like this last one, I listened to it and I'm like, oh God, it just, and I can hear how vulnerable and insecure I feel. And those are two of my least favorite emotions ever. Yep. But I do think that it is compelling, right? There's something there because we are being honest with each other in a way that maybe only the two of us can really be honest. Yeah. But afterwards, we're going to start recording the aftercare conversations and probably have that be part of a subscription, just because, man, it's like 10, 15 minutes. We're like, are you okay?
Yeah. Yeah. It's like, you need a minute. It's like, and like, well, especially like after the uncomfortable question, depending on the answers that we're giving, It's like, and I have just exposed a deep, dark secret that I've been holding in the back of my head that only my therapist knows.
Right.
And I am letting the whole world hear it, as well as his body.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember telling him, I'm like, I don't think I've ever told anybody that story, not even my therapist. Oh dear. Okay. Yeah.
That's one of the things that I love about this. So now as you're beginning to get some feedback from people, and you're beginning to get some feedback from friends. Now I am your parents' age. So I am the generation before you. Then comes you. Then comes the generations after. So we have this wedge right now of this 40 to 60 kind of wedge. So what kind of feedback are you getting from this particular cohort?
From what, the older one or our one, or basically what we've seen?
Either one. Actually, what I would prefer to have is just give me some of the feedback that you have heard over the course of these first 6.
Well, like I actually have 2 coworkers listening to the podcast now, and which was, I mean, like that was edge play for me, just itself. And what they both really liked about the podcast was we are answering questions that they've always wanted to hear, especially about men, especially about women. Like one example, they really like, we were talking about fantasizing about you're in the middle of throes of passion and your eyes are closed for too long. And it's like, how long? It's like, okay, what's going through your mind at that moment? And they were like, I always wanted to know that.
Yes.
And I mean, and it was like a really positive feedback. And also just, and like, as you were saying, just how honest Bonnie and I are with the listeners.
Yeah.
Like when the uncomfortable question comes up.
Yeah. But it happens all the way through. That's the neat part about it, is that there is such an interchange about where you're going. So how you decided to make this very real, Bonnie, and very, very mature, with mature audiences. You use the full spectrum of the beautiful English language, so that there is no, I mean, and that's all part of it. That was a volitional decision on your part.
It was. I mean, you know that I talk to people for a living. I have a very kind of both informal but professional style. And I also spent a lot of my formative years in New York City. So I know when I'm really feeling passionate about myself, I do have the language of a sailor. And I just wanted to be free and talk about how I really feel about these things. And that does involve using the F word in every form, adjective, verb on the planet.
I feel like I'm lagging behind. I feel like I need to be dropping more F-bombs.
This is a former cop, right? He's got much better language than I do. And I was like, winning. I just wanted us to be able to like talk like we do, right? That was the whole idea. Like we had this conversation at a bar, and yeah, I do have like the body. I have a potty mouth. I have horrible language, and that's just how I talk. So I kind of wanted it to just be that. Yeah. And it seemed age appropriate, right? We're talking about being over 40. Like if you like, do not let your children listen to this. It's not going to be published on Disney Plus. But
we're gonna talk, and we're gonna talk to be able to do it. One of the questions I wanted to ask is the question about flirting, because I want you to define flirting, because that's the part when you meet someone, and I just don't like the rom-com versions, because it seems to be oversimplified. And Blake, one of the things that I love about you is that you flirt with everyone. It is just a part. It's just a part of who you are. If you're there, you're engaging, you're relating, and that so much speaks to me. But could you talk about that and both the boundaries of flirting and keeping, and the same thing? And is it different for women than it is for men because of the power dynamics?
Yeah, absolutely. Like for me, Bonnie has seen me in action on this one. Like I do flirt with everybody, and when I'm walking up and I'm meeting someone, it's like I'm making eye contact, I am smiling, I'm being ingratiating, and just letting all like my natural personality coming out when I'm talking to someone.
Yes.
And if it's as Bonnie likes to put it, it's like there's not a bartender I have not fallen in love with.
Or doorman.
Yeah.
ballet, he's got a soft spot.
And it's and like I was saying in the podcast, it's something that comes naturally for me.
Yeah. And one of the things that I like about that, Blake, is that to me, it says to me when I do that, it says, I see you.
Yes.
You, individual, human being, I
Mhm.
both see and I'm going to give you my full attention.
That's,
And there's an attention there's a creepy attention, and then there's just hello human.
yeah.
And that's what I love about that I resonate with you so much.
Yeah, it's like, and when I'm flirting, there's no phone in my hand. It's like 100% eye contact. Like my body language is very benign.
Yeah.
And
And you're 6'5", I'm 6'4",
Yeah.
so I understand that dynamic too, because it's different. It's different for men and for women, and for you, Bonnie, in expressing interest in someone. Because one of the things that I'm most interested in my life is because I think about older men who are dating younger women in their early 20s, and here's a 60-year-old man, and I say, okay, I can understand the sex, but what do you talk about afterward? What do you say to this person? Where do you doesn't that have to come into it? Doesn't that part of sharing some kind of a worldview or something or am I just missing it as far as the attractions are concerned?
Yeah, conversation seems to be key. I don't really want to talk shit about 20 and 60-year-olds in love. I'm sure that it exists, power on, respect. Actually, I was thinking about this when we were listening to one of these things about that the casual sex time of my life is kind of over. I have a lot higher standards, and one of them being that they have to carry on a conversation that I find interesting.
exactly.
And that's that's harder. I'm not a very good flirt, right? As everybody heard, I'm pretty intense about it. I'm like,
She may kneecap you.
Yeah. We're like, spotlight. Don't worry, I'm recording this, but everything you say can and will be used against you. I have a questionnaire. I'm not great at flirting. I definitely need. I actually had my therapist said, you might need to recognize that you might never be good at flirting. You might want to just sort of accept that about yourself.
Just say it out there and say, okay, not going to be something I'm never going to throw a touchdown pass in the Super Bowl. Never going to be good at flirting. Just the way it is. It's just what's going to be happening.
I might need to grieve my disappointment in myself and just let it go, because I just good at it.
How the value of friendship. One of the things that I love about that, because when we're talking about exes and however we're doing the friendship is what I'm seeing so strong between you two. There is such a deep affection and a deep friendship that is there, that comes across in your conversations. I mean, really wishing the best for the other person.
I do. I mean, I love him. I want him to be happy. I want him to get out of his own fucking way, but I want him to be happy.
Yeah. And also, Bonnie needs to get out of her own fucking way as well.
Yeah, exactly. And that's where you can call. And that's what I love about when you're able to call one another on one another's bullshit.
Yeah.
And that is such a compelling thing where you sit there and, all right. So talk about the where the show is going from here. What kinds of subjects, how is it evolving that you're saying? Do you have primary, you're the writer, we write together, we work together. How does that work?
Basically we get together and we start drinking and we'll usually have a topic in mind, and then we'll go back and forth with it where we're pre-gaming. Literally. And discussing, okay, how do we want this topic to look? Is this a fun topic? Is it an interesting topic? Is it a scary topic? Because I mean, like right now we're looking at moving into some really hard conversations soon, like body image, pre-coital body image. It's like all of a sudden, hey, I haven't been naked in front of a person in 5 years and I'm about to do that.
Right.
And I'm not 20.
Right. And or like another conversation that was brought up to our attention that they'd like to hear is, can you be friends with a toxic ex?
Should you even try, right?
Yeah.
Which is the big
Wow.
question, right?
Yeah, exactly. And where does that toxicity come? I mean, because I know that I have to continue. My whole process is that if I'm not working on myself, I'm not working. Just cannot objectify or put out there to say that my problems are outside of me. They're not. Look here first, then we'll go ahead and win. And I see you both do that over and over and over again. That's so courageous and exactly the path I'm following.
I mean, other topics that we've been talking about: toxic exes, body image, children. You know, children come into it, whether, you know, being a step parent, you know, and dating somebody with kids, you know, not having kids.
Right.
Red flags. We have that I think is going to be our 10th episode topic is red flags and the beautiful sound and look they make when you rush right at them.
Right.
Like a bull. Yeah. And honestly, this has been the best thing about actually publishing and getting it out there is we are definitely open for topics. I mean, I liked Bonnie's idea. We had a commenter on one of our Facebook posts, her idea that when is sexual desire a fetishization, right? And when is the objectification of your partner become a fetish and become some form of like harm, you know, and that arose out of the you know, types, right? That it can be. So I don't know. I'm excited about more of it. We are going to have interviews, but it's not going to become an interview podcast.
No.
But we have special guest experts. We have a friend of ours that is also a therapist, a relationship counselor that specifies in poly, and he himself is in a poly queue, a very large one that I know a lot of members of, and I would love to get his take on what we have to say about polyamory and monogamy and the insecurities there. I
look at bonobos and I think, you know, and I think of, you know, because we have our lines that we come down to. I'm evolutionary wired, so I believe in evolution. So I feel like that we've come from our chimpanzee and bonobo family. However that works, somehow we made that leap and we're going. And it makes me wonder whether or not we're having another opportunity with AI, that AI is actually our next evolution. It's the evolutionary imperative of how we move on and that we're created. So we might not have as much awareness as a chimpanzee would have an awareness about whether or not I'm watching Mrs. Maisel. You know, who knows? I mean, does the chimpanzee particularly care that I can use an Excel spreadsheet or even understand? Oh, and I might not understand. So it's just an interesting part. Anyway, I just wanted to I wanted to toss that out there, and I want to. When are y'all doing the podcast weekly, or are you going to do a faster turnaround, or what's the plan?
Well, right now we're doing it weekly. Like as we get more established and honestly get better at the craft of making the podcast,
right?
We want to be able to expand on it.
Yeah.
Possibly drop in like 2 episodes a week versus just 1.
Yeah.
Man, that sounds fancy. I would love it. Yeah. But what I've done is we've committed to 1 episode a week for a full year, and then to see where we are at the other side of that. So 52 episodes and see where we are. Honestly, I feel like this falls hardest on our sound engineer because we just frankly get drunk and talk some shit about ourselves and our friends, right? He's the one who has to like sit and listen to every single syllable and breath and make us sound like professionals. So
let us know. It's like I had to correct this a lot.
Yeah.
Yes. All right. Could we possibly could we please have your sound engineer's name, at least first name?
Oh man, so Jamie Young, AVM contract.
Jamie Young.
Yes.
Say it again. Say it again.
Jamie Young. He is amazing. And he was saying that because the first 4 episodes are really badly recorded. I'm an amateur. I didn't know what I was doing. So I just did my best. He cleaned them up and made them sound like they're done in professional studio. I'm so grateful.
Absolutely.
and impressed
Thank
with
you,
him. And I say
Jamie.
something, I think it's when we're in the 3rd episode, being like, sorry guys about the audio, I'm gonna hire a professional. And he was like, you hurt my feelings, Bonnie. I am a professional. And I was like, oh no, that's when I hired you. Because I had
Thank you.
listened to him, and I'm like,
Thank you. And also he had some feedback for you that I also had, was to not minimize the audience, because every single person who is listening out there is an individual human being, and they're there. They're already there. Whether you have 1 million people, there's still going to be that individual person. And as you individuate these episodes, that's what another thing that I feel like that I'm there on the other side, sitting on the other side. I may not be part of the conversation, but it feels so much like I'm actually there. There's an intimacy to the work that blows me away, that makes me know that I'm an early adopter. I actually knew that this was gonna be big before it was big, and I was there. I knew it.
yeah, right.
Oh.
Exactly. I mean, honestly, Jamie gave us that same feedback that, and that's great. That's exactly how we want it to be. It feels like intimate, like you're there. Jamie said that he was recording it, and then we broke the 4th wall and basically addressed the audience. And he was like, I felt like found out like I've been a voyeur eavesdropping on a private conversation. And I was like, yes, that's what we're going for.
And that's exactly what we were going for. Like all of a sudden it's like, oh, I've been caught.
Yeah. Bonnie and Blake, I'm really grateful that you guys have started this and have really given this an opportunity to go and fly with it. And I love the idea, because is there a danger? Let me just ask this on the danger, because there's one place that I don't go. I don't go to the comments on my YouTube or the videos, because the first couple are just so nice, and then suddenly you get down there and going, it was the same minute, and then you're like, oh God. And it's the same thing with audience share. It's so dangerous to look at those numbers, to be able to do that about what you're doing. How do you handle that?
You go first.
Well, like I've read some really great comments. I've read some comments that are like, oh God, that one got me.
Yeah.
Oh, but it's basically it's like, okay, Howard, put me in for another round. I'm good.
Yeah. I'm going to take it. I'm going to take it. I'm going to move to the next level. Oh God, how wonderful, guys. All right. The only thing I'm going to ask you to do is to consider to come back again. 30 episodes down. I'm going to want to know what you learned about yourself, how it's building, where you're looking for advertising, how you're looking to monetize this. Because if my intuition is correct, and my taste, what I have, especially because I've listened to so many podcasts. I love Dana Carvey's comment about podcasting. He just started this podcast, and he said, I waited until there were 2 million podcasts out there because I wanted to make sure it wasn't a fad. So, yeah. But the thing is that if we can be working artists, we have our basic bills paid, our lights paid, we have our basic bills paid, doing our art, doing something that is unique and has value and income. What a blessing. We may not be making Sandra Bullock money. We may not get out there and to do that, or my favorite, murder money. But by goodness, we can make a living as a living artist and find ourselves in that realm. And that's what I believe about both of you.